Hey everybody, Carson with Topical Productions here, and I'm taking a quick break from my usual Commander videos to talk about a web series that, if you love Magic and you haven't seen it yet, you're definitely missing out. The show is called Topdecking. It's a comedy web series about the misadventures of a group of Magic players at a local game store. Let me make one thing clear though, this show is not all about Magic the Gathering. It's about people who play Magic. I'll make that distinction more clear later. Our main character is Becca.
I'm Becca. Eric just hired me to work the Hello Kitty side.
A woman who is definitely still a little girl at heart, who is finding it hard to find a job. She finally gets hired by Eric, the owner of a small game store, to help sell Hello Kitty merchandise, because
apparently people don't like buying Hello Kitty products from bearded men.
Becca, like the majority of the characters in the show, seems like a familiar but overly exaggerated version of someone we already know. She's not a total nerd, but she still loves Disney movies and bad chick flicks. She's the type of girl who would build a deck out of cards because she thought they were all pretty. I swear they must have met this girl that I know at my local game store and decided to base the entire character of Becca off of her. That is how familiar she is, at least to me.
I noticed your help wanted sign out front. The job's not already taken, is it? We've just been driving around all day, and I would hate to have to go back home without at least, getting a chance. Not that I'm going to force my resume on you. The job's already taken, I understand.
Eric is one of the goofier characters in the show. He's quirky, anxious, and even a little cuckoo at times. But that may just be because of one of his habits. The rest of the characters also seem fairly familiar to us, because just like any game store, Eric's store is filled with a bunch of dudes playing Magic, which brings us to our three main characters, Greg, Joe, and Mark. Greg also works for Eric and is the closest thing the show has to a straight man.
Wow, that's really specific and strange.
His and Becca's ambiguous relationship is one of the centerpiece story arcs of the series.
Oh my God.
Joe is that guy that if you have ever been to a game store to play Friday Night Magic ever, you know pretty well. He's a good player, hoping to make it big going pro, and is a pretty likable guy, but isn't afraid to do mean stuff to win a game.
I respect your decision, but I dislike that you're making it.
That's just what he does. Board wipes and land destruction.
Mark, for all intents and purposes, is the village idiot, or if you'd rather, a big gullible teddy bear. He's the card alterer of the group.
What was that?
Glitter.
Why do you have glitter?
I was drawing angels on a card, and I wanted them to sparkle.
There are several supporting characters as well, one of them being the antagonist of the show, Kyle. Kyle is possibly one of my favorite characters. Mainly because he's one of those spike players we all know. Not the nice competitive ones though, the ones that you know are out to cheat you in a trade. Kyle is that person, except with an evil laugh and an eye patch, since this is, a comedy. Not to mention, the fact that both Kyle and Joe are played by Ryan Garcia is a joke that runs throughout Season 1.
Okay, you guys are seriously like twins or something, right? He even does the hand thing when he leaves.
We are nothing alike.
A couple of the other characters are fairly weak compared to our main heroes, but are still fun to watch, like the nymphomaniac Veronica, the goth Natalie, a vampire wannabe Fatal, and Kevin, a crazed collector who is an integral part of one of the show's several story arcs. Speaking of story arcs, let me say this. This web series is a comedy with limited time and episodes to tell you its story. Therefore, the show uses its time to build up characters through seemingly standalone episodes, with each one adding a little bit to the arc that comes to a head as a two-part season finale. This lets the show do fun things outside of following the plot, like its brilliant adaptation of Dr. Seuss's The Grinch as a Halloween special.
Then, spying the pumpkin, the Eric grew crazed. His eyes were like donuts, incredibly glazed. Though that might have just been because he was blazed.
Another thing, this show is genuinely funny. Some of the best gags are just simple conversations the characters have when sitting around playing Magic. This is the kind of weird stuff people talk about, sitting around a table playing a casual game.
Haven't you ever seen Jurassic Park?
Oh God, I love that movie.
Me too.
I wish Jeff Goldblum was my dad.
That's weird.
Not to mention, every scene where they are trying to teach Becca how to play Magic is hilarious, and surprisingly accurate to trying to bring a non-gamer into the game.
Now you tap the mountain. Actually, it's just more of a...
There was no tapping there. That was a shift.
It's called tapping.
One of the major criticisms I've heard for Topdecking is that each of the characters are super exaggerated versions of nerd stereotypes, and that just seemed to turn some people off to the show.
Eric! Girl!
Maybe it's just me, but I know people at my local game store that fulfill a lot of these stereotypes, and since this is a comedy, seeing exaggerated and parodied versions of these people just make me laugh.
I am going to tap this, remove this, and you're dead. But no mercy, Becca. There's no mercy in magic.
While we're on the subject of criticisms, since this is a review, let's get into a few of my own criticisms of the show. Like I mentioned earlier, a few of the characters are just weak and seem to drag some of the show down with them. This is especially true with Natalie, as I found her more annoying than anything. Although she does have the scene with the most #feels moments in the whole season. Another thing is the earlier episodes are a little slow moving and have a couple of editing issues. Plus, a few of the jokes just kind of fall flat at times. But this just seems like some early growing pains as the show really starts kicking ass after the 3rd or 4th episode. The biggest criticism I have heard of the show is that, though it is about a game store and a group of Magic players, there actually isn't much Magic related stuff going on. And although I too would have liked to see a few more Magic related jokes and situations, it's clear that Topdecking isn't out to sell you Magic cards. Compare it to a similar web series, The Guild. The Guild, like Topdecking, follows a group of gamers and their misadventures with a game called The Game that is obviously supposed to be World of Warcraft. This isn't a review for The Guild, but for those of you who have watched it, you know what I mean when I say the show isn't really about the game. It's about the characters, and the game really just sets the stage. Topdecking takes the same approach, and I think it has been something that has set it apart. This doesn't mean that there aren't really cool Magic moments, however. The final game in the season finale had to have been the most fun blue-white control mirror match I've ever watched. Plus, there was even a game of Commander, which made me especially happy.
You will all pay.
No. Nico, no!
We will all rise. The dragons, the vampires, the zombies.
No! No more zombies! No!
Zombies.
That being said, Topdecking has only had its first season, and even with a few rough patches, the show is a very high quality piece of work. The acting from the main characters is great. The jokes are very funny. And if you watch to the end, you will probably get hooked and be begging for another season. If you watch Season 1 and love it, then you should give to help make Season 2 a reality. I have made it a point to not talk about donating money here at Topdecking Productions, and it's totally understandable that it is hard for some to give money to something that hasn't even materialized yet. But the way that I look at it is that I would totally pay $5 to see a unique Magic show on Hulu or Netflix. So, if you have seen Topdecking and are interested in donating, check out the links in the description. If you haven't seen the first season yet, I would definitely recommend you going and giving it a shot. I'm Carson with Topdecking Productions, and as always, thanks for watching.